My name is Bevin Cohen. I'm from Small House Farm, which is a sustainable homestead project in Sanford, Michigan. If you've ever been to Michigan, yeah! Okay, cool. I don't get a lot of applause for that sort of thing. That's fantastic. If you guys can see that tattoo on my hand right there, that's where my house is, right in the central of the mitt. That's the only state where we can do that, right? So that's kind of nice. But that's enough about me. You guys can do that on your own. So let's talk about what a seed is. Webster's Dictionary would define a seed as the fertilized and ripened ovule of a flowering plant capable of germination in order to produce a new plant. Makes sense, right? Webster's Dictionary certainly doesn't mess around. But as gardeners and seed savers, we know that seeds are much more than this. You know, our seeds, of course, are our guarantee of the future, because that's the food that we need. It is also our connection to the past. You can imagine, if you will, on every seed, it's the invisible fingerprints of the countless generations of people that have grown and saved those seeds before us, passed down from hand to hand for generations. For 10,000 years, since the dawn of agriculture, people have been saving and sharing their seeds. Sometimes when I do these talks, I'll bring some visual aids with me. One visual aid that I like to bring is Almond Joy candy bars. But I ate all the candy bars on the way here, so I don't have any for you. But we're going to talk about Almond Joy candy bars just the same, because the point that they illustrate, I think, is so important. An Almond Joy candy bar is something that we see every place that we go, right? I mean, we may not notice them because we're kind of bombarded with logos, but gas stations, party stores, convenience stores, grocery stores, Almond Joy candy bars in every single one of them. And what are the three main ingredients of the Almond Joy candy bar? Chocolate, coconut, and almonds. You got it right. All three of those are seeds, right? All three of those are seeds. Now, I was doing this example one time at a school garden. There's a kid right up front raised his hand and said, "Oh, no, Mr. Cohen, you got it all wrong. The number one ingredient in the Almond Joy candy bar, high fructose corn syrup." Smart kid. It's true. But corn is also a seed, right? So the Almond Joy candy bar, this mundane, everyday object, 95% seed. Without seed, it simply would not exist. So the big takeaway of my talk, we're doing it right here at the top. When you leave this tent and you go about your business at the festival, when you leave this festival and you go about your business at home, look at things from the point of view of seeds, and you will see that seeds are in everything that we do. I mean, they're in the candy bars. They're in the coffee that we drink. My clothes, cotton, that's the dispersal mechanism for a seed, right? It's in our fuel that fuels our vehicles. Seeds are in everything. Without seeds, we simply would not exist. So although Webster's Dictionary is certainly accurate with his definition, no, we know seeds are so much more than that. So let's save some seeds. I have gathered a list of equipment here. This is all the equipment you will ever need to save seeds. If you garden at all at home, you have all of these things already. There is no reason to ever go out and buy anything. You can save seeds with this equipment right here. What do we got on the list here? I got harvest baskets, knives and scoops, yarns and labels, drying racks, paper plates, yada, yada, yada. And I'm going to touch on how we utilize things. But the point that I'm making here is look how easy it is. Very little equipment at all, right? The theme of this whole presentation is how easy it is. Saving seeds is something that all of us can do. Again, like I said, people have been doing it for 10,000 years. Simple people, not scholars and scientists, but people just like you and me. Everyday people doing it every single day. Very, very simple stuff. A couple generations ago, there wasn't somebody like me going around talking to people about saving seeds. That's ludicrous. Everybody saves seeds. If you want to eat food, you had to grow food. If you want to grow food, you got to save seeds. That was just life, right? So hopefully someday I could put myself out of business, right? And I won't have to talk about seeds anymore because everyone will be doing it. That'd be great. One of the first things we need to learn when we become seed savers is that seed saving is a year-round activity. We tend to think about saving seeds in the fall. We do a lot of seed extraction in the fall, right? Look at all the seeds out there. Think of all those ripe fruits over in the expo hall, right? So the physical mechanics of seed saving may take place in the autumn season. But to be successful seed savers, we need to think about saving seeds all year long. I'm talking January. When you're flipping through your Baker Creek catalog, just dreaming about these gardens to come, seed saving, right? When you're starting your seeds, when you're transplanting your plants, we need to think about seeds the entire time. To be successful seed savers in the fall, we need to think about seeds all year long. When you come to events like this, it's pretty easy to do. I can't stop thinking about seeds, right? Some of the things we need to consider are spacing and timing. If you are an experienced gardener, you're very familiar with how much space and time these plants are going to need for you to harvest them, to eat them. If you look on the back of a seed packet, it'll say something like, so days to maturity. Days to maturity. What does this mean? Typically market maturity. Days until you harvest it and eat it. not necessarily when you're going to harvest it for seed. Some of our seed crops are going to be in the garden much longer than they would be if we're going to eat them. And they're going to take up possibly a lot more space. Great example, lettuce. You go lettuce, how big is a lettuce? Had lettuce this big, romaine lettuce, that'd be a really good one. Leaf lettuce, pretty small. You let that thing go to seed, it's going to be this tall, right? It's going to be this big around. It's going to be in your garden for significantly longer than it would be if you're eating it. You plant lettuce, what, you're going to eat lettuce in what, 55 days? I got lettuce, I started spring in Michigan. It is just starting to flower right now. It has been in my garden significantly longer. At Small House Farm, we got a limited amount of space. We got, 3.5 acres total. That's the whole property. So our growing space is much smaller than that. And we grow a lot of things in this small space. So when a crop comes out and there's some bare garden, I got a plant ready to go in. I got seeds ready to go in, right? It's a busy, busy place. But when I'm leaving these crops to become seed, they got to be in there a lot longer, right? This is something we need to understand when we're planning our gardens. We need to plan for seed saving in advance. It can get very frustrating if we don't. How about fruit maturity? We eat a ton of stuff before it's mature. What you're looking at here is cucumbers. Now, if you like cucumbers at all, you might enjoy this one. It's Boothby's Blonde Cucumber. I love it. I've probably eaten 200, 250 different cucumbers in my life. This is my favorite of all of them. You can eat it fresh and pickle it. You can do whatever you want with it. It's fantastic. But you're not going to save seeds from it, not at the stage that you eat it. Have you ever eaten a cucumber before? You know, those thin, translucent little seeds, that's not going to grow anything, right? You got to leave these fruits on the plant significantly longer to get mature. They're going to get big, they're going to get ugly, they're going to be thick-skinned, bitter, but they're going to be full of good seeds. So you got to wait for that to happen, right? You can look at the picture here. On the far left, that's the cucumber at the stage that I would eat it. And on the far right is the stage that I would harvest the seeds from it. Totally different. The fruit changes colors from pale yellow to dark yellow. A green cucumber will turn yellow. A zucchini will turn orange. What I find when I talk to people about saving seeds, the greatest challenge everybody seems to have is, how do I know when the seeds are ready to harvest? Nature tells us. Once we learn the cues, once we understand what nature is trying to tell us, it's very obvious when the seeds are ready to harvest. We just have to learn, right? Saving seeds only involves like 5 techniques. The first one is, when are the seeds ready? In this case, fruits change color. Think about a tomato. This is the best example, right? Tomato's green, then it turns red, or yellow, or orange, or stripy. There's all sorts of tomatoes. But you know what I mean? It changes color to let you know when the seeds are ready. Our cucumbers are going to do the same thing. Now, an important thing that we need to learn about plants. All plants in the plant kingdom, every plant you'll ever experience, every plant in the plant kingdom, all it wants to do is make seed. That is its number one primary motivator for all of its existence, is the production of seed. That's what it's trying to do. And the only reason that fruit exists in any form in all of nature is as a seed dispersal mechanism, right? So animals like me will collect the fruit and then disperse the seeds as we travel about. So once we come to understand that basic principle, then we know that when we allow our plants to go to seed, when we allow our fruits to mature, they're going to put all of their energy into those seeds, which means they're going to stop making baby fruits. No more baby cucumbers, right? The best example everybody knows of this is deadheading flowers. You deadhead flowers to get more blooms. You stop deadheading it, your flowers quit making blooms, right? Because they're now putting all of their energy into those seeds. This is an important thing for us to understand as seed savers. Once I let my cucumbers, or whatever fruit it may be, mature, I'm not getting any more baby fruits. So we need to plan ahead for that, right? You can either plan ahead by planting extra. So these are the ones that I eat. These are the ones that are for seed. Or at some point, just stop harvesting and let nature take its course, right? But you don't have to sacrifice a lot of fruit. How many seeds are in a cucumber? A lot. That's the right answer. There's a significant amount of them, you know what I mean? So just saving seeds from a few fruits is enough seeds for you, your friends, your neighbors, and your community, right? It does not take much time. It does not take much effort. Seeds are exponential. In the wild, plants make an incredible amount of seed because not many of those seeds will survive, right? So she puts out a ton of them in hopes that some will make it. But in a cultivated situation like a garden, where we are gathering and caring for the seeds as they mature, most all of those seeds are going to survive, which means we get a ton of them, right? Lots and lots of seeds from very little work, very little effort. All right, let's start dividing our seeds up. We've got to break them into categories so we can understand how to save them. I won't spend too much time on this because I'm going to guess most of you understand what's on this slide right here. But these are labels that we use when we talk about seeds. You can see the 2 that are highlighted in green. Those are the 2 most important for a new seed saver. The one at the top of the list, of course, being the most important, an open pollinated crop. And in its most simple definition, an open pollinated crop, when left to pollinate openly with the plants around it, will produce fruits that contain seeds that are true to the maternal form. What I mean by this is you can predict what those seeds are going to grow. Right? You get say Amish paste tomato. That's one of my favorites. You get the Amish paste tomato, you save the seeds from it, you grow it next year. Amish paste tomatoes. It's easy to predict. The opposite of this, of course, being the hybrid. A hybrid is created when we get two plants of the same species cross-pollinated with each other to get that hybrid variety. And a lot of the fruits and vegetables we get here in the United States are hybridized. And there's a lot of pros and cons to hybridization. And we don't have time to unpack all of these specifics. But from a seed-saving point of view, hybrids can be tricky. When I save the seeds from an F1 hybrid, I plant them again next year, I get the F2, the second generation. And in that second generation is every potential genetic expression that could have come from the first initial cross. What does that mean? You can't predict what those seeds are going to grow. It could be like the mother plant, the father plant, long lost cousin. It could be better, it could be worse. You don't know. You know what I mean? If you're a plant breeder, F2 is super exciting because every one of those seeds is going to do something different. But if you're a new seed saver, that can be confusing very quickly. A good example here is sweet corn. Most of the sweet corn we eat in the United States is hybridized, and there's pros to it most certainly. But if I save the seed from an F1 hybrid sweet corn, the gene that causes corn to be sweet is a recessive gene. So if I save those seeds from these hybrids and I plant them next year, the likelihood that seed produces sweet corn is about 20%. That's 80% odds I'm going to be very disappointed in my corn. Right? So we're going to skip all that, and we're going to stick with open pollinated varieties, which brings me to the next thing on my list, heirloom. All heirlooms are open pollinated. There are new open pollinated varieties introduced every year. They're fantastic. You can grow them, you can save them, it's wonderful. But these heirlooms, man, and you guys know I'm preaching to the choir here. We are here right now, right? If people have been saving and sharing these seeds for 50 years or more, which is the benchmark to become an heirloom, well, there's probably a good reason we'd want to save those seeds too, right? Could be something delicious, could be something historical, could be sentimental. I don't know. I was at a seed swap one time in Pikeville, Kentucky. I met a lady there. Her name was Bunny Ashby, about this tall, little old lady. Bunny was her name. She's adorable. And Bunny had come to the seed swap with a handful of beans that she had brought with her. 6-week tan is what she'd called them. And Bunny Ashby's family had been growing that bean in their holler for the last 100 years. That's cool, right? That's historic. That's fantastic. 6 weeks tan. I said, what's with the name, Bunny? Well, six week. You plant this bean in the ground. 6 weeks later, you're eating green beans. Okay. So I took some of Bunny's seeds. I brought them all the way up to Michigan. I planted them. 6 weeks to the day later, I'm eating green beans. That is a good reason to save these seeds, right? Heirlooms exist for a reason. Heirlooms are preserved for a reason. Baker Creek exists for a reason, right? So if you're new to seed saving and you want to grow some awesome seeds and save them and share them, you have absolutely come to the right place. Organic and genetically modified, we don't have time to get into all that, of course. These are topics people get very emotional about. Some people get upset about GMOs. If you guys want to boo GMO, well, I skipped to the next slide. You can help yourself to that. Awesome. All right, so we're going to split our seeds up in a couple more categories. Annuals and biennials. As gardeners, you know what this means. An annual crop will live its entire life cycle, flowers, fruits, and seeds, the very first year you grow it in your garden. This is simple stuff. A biennial, on the other hand, needs to be overwintered, vernalized, and in that second year starts its reproductive cycle. A good example of a biennial crop would be beets, cabbages, those sorts of things. These are the more advanced crops for seed saving. But there are so many annual crops out there, boy, more than you'll ever need. We also want to understand how our crops are being pollinated. This is an important thing. Sometimes we have to get involved in the pollination process. When we're planting our gardens, we have to understand what's happening out there so we can plan in accordance to the pollination that's going to happen. But simply put, many of our garden crops are self-pollinating. This means they have perfect flowers, right? They're bisexual, hermaphrodites. That's called perfect in nature. They have the male and female parts right in that same flower. We could use botanical lingo. We could say staminate and pistillate parts right in that flower. We could talk about function. We could say pollen shedding and pollen receptive parts all in that one flower, completely self-contained. Makes its own seeds with no outside input at all. Other crops, on the other hand, have separate staminate and pistillate flowers. Needs wind or insects to move the pollen from here to over there to get your fruit to grow. This is important for us to understand. If we want to avoid cross-pollination in our garden, when we're planting our gardens, we have to understand how our food grows. Even if you leave here today and say, I don't have any interest in saving seeds, you should still understand how your food grows. I travel to a lot of places. I meet a lot of people. Common theme seems to be a lot of people have no idea where food comes from. The younger they are, the less they seem to know. You know what I'm saying? So even if you're not going to save your seeds, learn how it's growing. Tell your neighbor. Maybe they'll pass it on, right? And that's how we make the world a better place. All right, we're going to go 2 more categories. We're going to break our seeds into dry seeds and wet seeds. Now, when you're saving seeds, this is an important thing to understand. Seeds are going to fall into one of these 2 categories based on the environment that the seed is in when it is mature. Dry seeds are in a dry environment. You can think about beans, corn, cowpeas, flowers, herbs. These are all dry. Typically, the signal that nature will give us that these dry seeds are ready to harvest, they look like they're dead. They're brown and crispy. Brown and crispy. That's what we're looking for, right? These are all processed exactly the same. Every single dry seed is processed in the exact same manner. It's just the scale of the work is different. Larger seeds are processed on a larger scale. But we thresh them and winnow them. Threshing simply means impacting the seed pod to release the seed. Winnow, utilizing the wind to separate the seed from the chaff. The chaff is the stuff that we don't want. So let's talk about beans. How do you process beans? Shell them by hand. Put them in a bucket. Bang them with a stick, right? Impact them. Breaking them open, right? That's all we got to do. If we get into a smaller scale where we're dealing like things with herbs and flowers, we're going to thresh them, again, in our hands. Looks just like this. You know what I'm saying? Breaking them apart. I got some examples coming up. The other category here is wet seeds. The seeds that are inside of a fruit. It's a moist, wet environment. All of those seeds are processed in the exact same manner, every single one of them. When the fruit is ripe, you extract the seeds. Some of them may need fermentation. We'll talk about that. Some of them will be exposed to water to separate out the duds. I'll talk about that in a second, but it is the same process for all of them. Find a ripe fruit, extract the seeds, clean them off, put them out to dry. That is it. When I meet people that are like, oh, I've never saved seeds before, it's like, buddy, why not? People are nervous because I've never done it before. I don't want to mess it up. It's very difficult to mess up. What happens if you mess up? It turns out nothing, actually. Nothing's going to happen to you. It's okay. It's going to be all right. I've been on this planet for a long time. Boy, it seems like a long time sometimes. And I mess up stuff all the time. That's like my theme with most things, I think. That's how you learn. I've only gotten to where I'm at in life by just messing up a whole bunch of times and trying not to do that again. Let's try to do something different, right? So get out there and try to save some seeds. And if you mess it up, it's okay. I happen to know a place where you can buy some really good seeds. For $2 off. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. All right, here's your self-pollinating annuals. I have compiled this list. These are the easiest food crops to save seeds from. Anybody can do it. I've arranged the list from so stinking easy. My 16-year-old son does it. I haven't touched a bean in years. You know what I'm saying? Have you ever worked with a teenager? If a 16-year-old can do it, we can all do it. You know what I mean? Easy stuff. All the way down to the bottom of the list may be a little bit more complicated, but very, very basic. So look at this list. Just choose one of these things. Just pick one and say this is the year, right? When we start our gardens next year, we're going to take our seeds home from the seed swap. Next year, when we grow it, we're going to try to save just one of these. Just pick one and do it. Baby step it. Don't get overwhelmed. We like to get overwhelmed. Don't do that. Just pick one, do it. So beans, peas, cowpeas, garbanzos, and soy. I've kind of given those examples. The reason I've put them all on this same list right here is they're all the same plant family, Fabaceae, right? What this means is they all have similar flower structures. What that means is they all make seeds in the same way. What that means is, once you understand how to save seeds from one of these things, now you know how to save seeds from everything on this list. Because it's the exact same thing, over and over and over again. You collect the dry pods, you break them open, you take out the seeds, right? Easy. How about lettuce? Lettuce is super easy to grow. A lot of people grow lettuce, but I don't meet a lot of people saving lettuce seed. And that is ridiculous. Isn't that silly? I mean, oh my gosh, let these things go to flower. They will wow you with little sunshines. They kind of look like dandelions, right? Turns out they make seeds just like dandelions do. It's the same thing. They open up their little sunshine flowers. Oh, yeah. Then they close overnight, and they wake up the next day, and it's a poof. That's the botanical term for it, right? It's a poof. And that's a wind-dispersed seed. And the wind will blow the little lettuce seeds all over your garden. You'll have surprise lettuces for years to come. Or you can collect them. When you see the poof start to form, you will notice that the base of the flower, which is called the sepal will become brown and crispy. Brown and crispy. Now what you do, ready? Get yourself a paper bag, write the name of the lettuce on there, whatever year this happens to be happening in, and you're going to pinch that flower off and you're going to put it in the paper bag. That's all you got to do. You want to harvest a whole lot of them really fast? Cut that whole flower stalk right off at the base, put it upside down in a big paper bag. Write the name of the lettuce on it, put it on the shelf. Done. Get out next spring, you shake that thing, all the seeds fall out. You get all the poofs too, but if you're just gardening at home, poofs aren't going to hurt anything. If you're sharing seeds with your friends don't want all those poofs, so we're going to have to thresh them and winnow them. Threshing, again, for these little seeds looks exactly like this. You're going to gather all those poofs into a bowl and you're going to Mr. Miyagi that thing. That's it. All the chaff is meant to be wind dispersed, so you're going to use the smallest amount of wind you've ever used. Ready? It looks just like this. If you missed it over here, I'll do it again. All the poofs fly up, they get in your beard, everybody laughs, it's hilarious, and then you have so much seed. You guys are smart. I know you're smart because you're here. Let's do some math. Ready? Let's say you grow one lettuce plant. One lettuce plant. One lettuce plant will produce somewhere around 30 to 40 flowers on average. Each flower will produce 12 to 16 seeds. How many seeds can I grow from one lettuce plant? Somebody actually said numbers. I'm pretty sure the answer is a lot. A lot. A lot of seeds. And how much time did I just put into that? Minutes. Minutes. Seeds for everybody. Seeds for everybody. Tomatoes are probably the trickiest of all the seeds to save. And I should say, like, air quote that. Tricky. They're tricky. They require the process of fermentation. Cucumbers and tomatoes are both seeds that I'm going to ferment. Now, you got to remember that gelatinous coating that's around each tomato seed. Now, these gelatinous coatings around these seeds have growth inhibitor chemicals inside of them to stop these seeds from sprouting prematurely. In their native lands of Central and South America, when tomato was just a wild plant, the fruits were very attractive to birds. Birds would eat the fruits, fly around, digest them, and drop the seeds as they flew. Right? Dropping all the seeds, the dispersal mechanism, right? It turns out tomato seeds that have gone through the digestive tract of a bird have 80% higher germination rates than those that have not. Wow. So we want to do that, but not like the birds are doing it. You know, we have a different technique, right? I mean, you can do whatever you want, I guess, you know. But I wouldn't recommend it. But when your fruits are ripe, you're just going to gather them up. You're going to cut them open. You can see the one cut tomato here on this slide. It's cut at what I like to call the equator. You're going to cut it right there. You're going to squeeze the seeds and the juice out into a jar. You're going to put some water in that jar. You're going to let it sit there till it looks like the jar in this picture. See that white scum across the top? That's the mold. It's lactobacillus. It's kind of the same fermentation process that we use when we make kimchi. It's breaking down that coating on those seeds. Once you see that mold, you're in business. Add some water to that jar, give it a good shake, and it'll separate right out. All the stuff you don't want floats. All the good seeds will sink to the bottom. Mason jar like this works fine at home. Sometimes, you know, on a larger scale, we'll use buckets or something like that. But you're going to get a lot of seeds out of a few tomatoes, right? And this is something you do right on your windowsill. Very, very simple stuff. Eggplants. One thing I'm going to say about eggplants is we eat eggplants before they are ripe. Leave the eggplant on the plant. They will get ugly, yellow, bitter, miserable, sad little things. But that's how you get the seeds out of them, right? You got to leave some of these fruits behind to mature. You get a couple seeds out of an eggplant. Most of the seeds you pull out of an eggplant when you eat it are not mature enough to grow. So leave these things on there to go, right? You got to understand when these fruits are ready. That's all it really comes down to. Another thing I'll say about eggplants, I suppose, is unlike a tomato who has a self-contained flower and is self-pollinating, even though an eggplant is self-pollinating, it's got a big, beautiful flower, and insects are going to want to get all up in it. They're going to love it, which is cross-pollinate your eggplants. So even though some of your crops may be self-pollinating, doesn't mean they are safe from accidental cross-pollination from insects, right? So understanding, again, how the pollination process works is very, very important. Bagging our blossoms is our workaround for all of this. You can use little organza bags like you see in this picture here. You could use big bags. Seed Savers Exchange sells these things, they call them lettuce bags. Put them over a lettuce plant so the lettuce seeds don't blow away, but you can use it as a barrier over these plants. Or you can go to your local hardware store, they sell something called paint strainer bag. I don't know anything about paint or why you would ever strain paint. I know nothing about this, but I know it's the exact same bag, and it's a fraction of the cost. And it's creating a barrier to stop insects from coming in here, right? If you're growing on a larger scale, row cover. One variety with row cover on it. You're just trying to stop insects from bringing pollen from the wrong side of the tracks, right? Understanding the process. Peppers. A green bell pepper is an unripe red bell pepper. It's the first thing I'm going to say. Yeah. People ask that question all the time. So that's an important one to know. I'm going to walk you through how to save a pepper seed. Are you ready for this? You get a ripe pepper. You cut it open. You take the seeds out of it. Put it on a paper plate to dry. Label the paper plate. That's it. Now think about when you eat a bell pepper at your house. What do? Cut it open. Take out the seeds. Then what do you do with them? Geez, man, you are halfway to seed saving and not even realizing it, right? We like to put things in different boxes. Oh, gardening's over here, seed saving's over there, cooking's over here. But man, if that was a Venn diagram, it would almost be one circle. The overlap in these things is tremendous. The amount of times you encounter seeds in the kitchen and not realizing it, you are already doing most of the work of seed saving. Here's some melons. Nope, these are not melons. These are squash. Here's some squash. But I got a butternut. I got a Hubbard. Those are acorn. What do you see about my acorn squash? It's ripe. It's ready for seed harvesting, right? Fruits change colors to let you know when they are ripe. Melons. We eat melons when the seeds are ready. Let's walk through the steps of eating a melon. Step number 1 of eating a melon. Is it ripe? You sniff it, you thump it. I don't know how you tell, right? There's all sorts of different people in this world. Some are sniffers, some are thumpers, whatever. Now you got a ripe melon. What's step number 2 of eating a melon? What's step number 3 of eating a melon? Scooping the seeds out. You cut it open, you scoop the seeds out. Wash those seeds off, seed saving. Right now, what are you doing? Just giving them to your chickens? Think about it different. Just a different perspective is all that you need. Cucumbers we talked about, of course. Those translucent seeds will grow nothing. We've got to let those cucumbers mature. But what about watermelons? We're already doing it. You eat a watermelon, you get a seed in your mouth. What do? Spit it into a bucket. Seed saving. All right? I'm oversimplifying that. You're going to want to wash it off, but I mean, that's it. That's it. That is it. I was raised by my grandmother. My grandmother taught me that if I swallowed a watermelon seed, everybody knows this, it'll grow inside of you. I was petrified. I should have gotten therapy. Scary. Scary. Even thinking about it makes me feel funny. But as an adult, I've come to discover not only is that foolish, watermelon seeds are completely edible. Watermelon seeds are the most nutritious part of the plant. Everything in life is just changing your perspective. Looking at things from a different point of view. Well, that's all you got to do. Brassicas, we won't spend much time on these guys because many of them are biennials and I'm running low on time. But the seed pod of a biennial brassica is called a salique. And I like the word saliques. So we've got the slide here so I can say saliques a bunch of times. Saliques. Now a salique is meant to shatter, right? When it gets brown and crispy, it'll break right open. And it'll drop, that seed stalk right there that you're looking at in the picture has about 2,500 seeds in it. And it will drop 2,500 kale seeds in that one spot. You'll have kale for the rest of your life. You sell your house, the next guy moves in, he's got kale for the rest of his life, you know? But if you wait and just pick them when they're yellow, not all the way brown, flip them into a bucket, let them sit, they'll finish drying, tap it on the inside of that bucket, 2,500 seeds come out. 2,500 seeds, who needs that many kale? That's enough kale seed for everybody in this tent, and I can do it in 2 minutes. The most important thing to understand about brassicas, of course, is this slide. You've probably seen this on the internet. What do we got? Cabbage, Brussels sprouts, kohlrabi, kale, broccoli, cauliflower. Should say collard greens on there, but does not. We call them different things. We treat them as different vegetables. They are all the same plant. They are all the same species. They all come from the same place, right? All from the same wild mustard. And different people in different places observed that in the wild mustard growing around them, some plants randomly did something different. Some of them had bigger buds. Some of them had swollen stems. Some of them had big tasty leaves. They said, whoa! And they saved the seeds from those weird plants and brought them home, planted them again. Sure enough, they saw those same traits in that crop the next year. So they saved the seeds and they planted them again. Guess what? They saw the trait again. So they saved the seeds and they planted them again the next year. Get where I'm going, right? Fast forward like 1,000 years of people doing this, and they created completely different vegetables from the same wild mustard. Now, this is an extreme example, of course. It's 1,000 years of selection, but this is exactly what you are doing in your garden every time you save seeds. You choose a particular trait that you like, you select for it, you will continue to get it again. If I gave you guys all seeds today, which I may have actually over at the Seed Swap, say Amish paste tomatoes. Amish paste tomatoes, y'all get them. I'm like Amish paste tomato Oprah. You get some seeds, you get some seeds. You guys go home, you grow Amish paste tomatoes, and in 10 years, we all come back to the Baker Creek Fall Festival again and bring our tomatoes with us. Each of us would bring a distinctly different tomato, even though we started with the same seeds, because we would all select for something different. You like the big tomatoes, you like the early tomatoes, you like the round ones, you like disease resistance. We got different soil conditions, different microclimates, different pest pressures, and all plants want to do is make seeds. They will evolve and change wherever they are in order to do so, meaning that we have seeds programmed to grow wherever we're growing, right? The seeds you save are the best seeds you'll ever get your hands on. The seeds that you get here today, take them home, grow them, and save the seeds. Save the seeds. Then you can just come back and buy new stuff next year, right? And you'll have all this great stuff that you've grown, and they will continue to adapt and be awesome in your gardens. You know, and of course, make sure you store them well, you know, cool, dark, dry. That's important. I say airtight containers on this slide. If you're saving seeds from like long term, airtight's good. Putting seeds in the freezer, absolutely. But if you're just saving seeds from now until next season, right, then it doesn't need to be airtight. An envelope is going to work perfectly fine. Coin envelopes, shoe boxes, as long as they are cool, dark, and dry, these seeds will wait for you to grow them. Some people like to stash all their seeds in a freezer. I guess. The greatest seed bank, of course, is in the soil. Seeds aren't doing you any good if you're not planting them. Plant those seeds, let them grow. That's what they want to do. And make sure that they're all well labeled. Seed savers would say this is a good label. Look at all that, all the information. Varieties, common name, scientific name, grower name. That's a wealth of information. I don't know about you, but I can't remember 20 minutes ago, let alone what I grew last year. So the more information I put on the label, the better prepared I will be, and the better prepared everyone I share my seeds with will be to succeed. Labeling is key. Label every step of the way. I literally write on tomatoes with Sharpie markers because that's the only way I'm going to remember. Sometimes I got to write, do not eat, because, you know, my kids, they want to eat everything. All right, so that's all the slides. We can move to the Q&A. If you guys are interested in learning more stuff about our farm and the things that we do, I've got the pictures of my books in this slide, but you can head right on over to where you're buying the seeds from Baker Creek, and they got all my books right there on a table for you to purchase. Books about saving seeds, books about pressing oil from seeds, books about turning your herbs into medicine, whatever your heart desires. And you go over there and you buy one and you come bring it to me, I will high-five you. I'll high 10. And then there's all of my links if you want to stay in touch with me. If you did not do the QR code at the beginning, take a picture of this so you can connect with me online. And now with the time that we have left together, which I did pretty good, we got like 10 or 12 minutes, I could try to answer all of your questions. The fermentation process, you know, there's really not much more to it. So you're going to squeeze the seeds into the jar. You're going to put some water in there. Let it sit for about 2 to 3 days. That's when you'll start to see that mold start to grow. Then fill the jar with water, shake it. It'll separate out. Gently pour off the stuff from the top, and then you'll see that the water's still discolored. So add more water, the seeds will sink, pour it. Add more water, the seeds will sink, pour it. And repeat that till the water's clear. Then pour those seeds out into a little screen. Put them out on paper plates to dry. Since they've been soaking in water, I'm going to put them on to dry 10 days minimum. Make sure they're good and dry. But that's it. I do cucumbers, tomatoes, same process. I will also take many of my squash seeds and throw them in water. They don't need fermentation, but you know, you get into a squash, it's all stringy and clingy. Take all the guts, throw it into a bucket, fill it up with water, let it sit. The water breaks down the plant material. All the squash floats, all the seeds will sink. Nature will do the work for you. Way in the back.
Have you had any experience using biochar at your farm?
I don't use any biochar at my farm, but I got a friend that's really into it, and his gardens are always better looking than mine. So I don't know much about it, but it would seem from anecdotal evidence that there's definitely worth pursuing it. I'll say that. Good question, though.
So how do you know, like for a cucumber, that it's past the point of the maturity where you're not eating it, but not rotten to get the seed?
So how do you know when the cucumber is past the point of maturity but not rotten? And rotten's actually pretty good. I leave my cucumbers out there. The plants themselves will be gone, and you'll go out there and it's just yellow cucumbers all over the ground, like somebody's playing a joke on you. And if you leave them sit longer, the skin will remain, and the insides will turn into goo. And that's really good. And then just pop them open and squeeze it out into a bucket. You know, rotten's good because when we're going to ferment them, that's rotting them anyways. So letting nature do that works really nice for them. Well, you could do that for tomatoes too, but one of the things that happens for me with ripe tomatoes is critters come and get them. Chipmunks, gophers, chickens, but they never mess with my cucumbers at all. They're not tasty, yeah. Not as tasty as a tomato for sure. There's a reason we eat tomatoes when they're ripe and we eat cucumbers before they're ripe. You know, definitely a flavor thing. Anybody else? I left a lot of time for questions. Come on, stump me.
What if I need to amend my soil? Where do I start?
Where do you start to amend your soil? Okay, so the first thing you want to do is a soil test. You have to understand what you need to amend with your soil. So you could do your own soil test. You can buy soil testing kits. I've bought them from the Dollar General, and they seem to work pretty well. But I always recommend if you take soil samples and send them to your local extension office, they will give you a great analysis on what needs to be done. Then it's just a matter of getting the amendments that you need and working them in there. We use a lot of chicken manure at our place. We compost that and then move that out into the gardens. We use a lot of cover crops, winter wheat and that sort of thing. But the first step is understanding what your soil actually needs.
We don't have an HOA, and I have a lot of seeds, and I want to start planting it in the front yard. What do you think about planting in the front yard?
So I'm nervous to answer this question. So some people believe that planting in the front yard is a really good idea, and others maybe don't. But I'll say this. If you came to my house, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between my front yard and my backyard. Because they're the same. And yours should be too. I'm sorry. Oh, right, yeah. That's true. That's true.
You get a piece of fruit, you're eating a piece of fruit, an apple or something, or pear, and the seed sprouted and made a little baby sprout there. Will it survive if you plant it firstly, and secondly, will it just be like a crab apple?
This is a fun question. So there's a lot of ways we could go with this. Let's talk about specifically with apples. Sometimes we'll see this in tomatoes. It's called vipary. It's when the seeds start to sprout inside of the fruit, and it has a lot to do with the maturation process of the fruit, typically with tomatoes or apples because they're ripened with gas commercially. But yeah, you can absolutely grow those seeds, and they will certainly grow into something. The trick with apple seeds is apple seeds will never come true to type, so your seed will produce something completely different than the fruit that it was harvested from. It's because of the genetics of the cross-pollination of apples. Apple flowers are not self-compatible. They need pollen from a different variety in order to set a fruit. So every fruit is made from a cross-pollination, a hybridization event that causes that. So every one of those seeds will be something different. Doesn't mean it's bad. It may not be sweet and tasty, but you can make cider out of it.
Because eating apples, and I was wondering if we could use those to just like, even if the fruit's not good, to produce flowers to bloom at the same time as the other apples.
Great idea. So you can grow these apple seeds, and the apple that seed produces may not be great, but the pollen from those flowers will pollinate delicious apple trees of their own. Yeah, for sure you can do that. That's a lot of people will grow crab apples for that exact reason, because crab apples they produce a lot of pollen, and they're compatible with all different apple varieties. Yes?
I've saved some wild persimmon and pawpaw seeds. How would I, just in the recent weeks, how would I go about planting or saving? What do I do with them?
Sure. So, I mean, at the stage that we're eating those fruits, those seeds are ready. But they many times need extra preparation. So, like pawpaw seeds need to be kept moist at all times. So you don't really necessarily want to dry them out. And those types of fruits often need to be exposed to cold temperatures to break their dormancies to get them to grow. So planting them in the fall is actually a really good idea because then they're exposed to that cold, which will help them germinate to grow. So long answer short, take those seeds out of those fruits, plant them right now. Even the persimmon. Yep, same thing. You got to be louder for me.
What role would mycorrhiza or fungi play in germination in the later growth of your seeds?
That's probably too technical of a question for me. What role does mycorrhiza play in the germination of seeds? And I don't necessarily know that, but I know that mycorrhiza plays an incredible role in all plant interactions. So I'm going to assume with seed production it's probably similar, or young seed growth is probably similar. But I don't know enough about mycorrhiza to properly answer that question probably. So I said stump me, and then she did it, didn't she?
Do you have any like, broad or specific suggestions, distinctions when you're saving seed to plant versus to like consume?
Ooh.
Either press it or something? Is it different?
So, okay. Oh, man, that's a good question. So we always want to, so the question was, do we have a distinction between the seeds we're going to save and the seeds that we're going to eat or press or whatever it might be? And we may be tempted to say we want to eat the greatest and the best of those things, but then we're doing ourselves a disservice. So we will often eat the poorest stuff and save the good seeds to grow with. It becomes a very, very tricky place, so then we kind of have to make a call. I have a friend, I'm going to answer this question by telling somebody else's point of view on this. I have a friend, his name's Stephen McComber, Silver Bear. He's an indigenous Mohawk elder, and he has taught me that when you save seeds from corn, you only save the seeds from the inner center part of the ear. You never save seeds from the outer part. And all of the seeds from the outer part of the ear is what they then use to eat, to make food with, and they save those seeds in the center because they are the highest quality, and we want to continue to pass that quality on to future generations.
But maturity-wise, the same?
It's the same, you know. They're going to dry the same. Personally, I don't know enough about indigenous corn beliefs to know the difference from one side of the cob to the next, but it's a thing that they've done for hundreds of years. And what we always find, if we explore indigenous points of view, they're always right. And science is just trying to catch up to that, so. Yeah.
I got a question. I saved Paul Robeson's tomato seeds from last year, planted this year, and I put 6 in the ground. 3 produced great, 3 did not produce very well. What did I do wrong?
There's a lot of factors that could be going here,
But I just thought maybe it was something I did with saving seeds. Did I not get mature seeds?
Well, how did you, when you process the seeds, did you ferment them?
No.
Okay, that's your issue. So one of the things about fermentation, I'll meet a lot of folks down in Appalachia. I do a lot of seed swaps down there, and a lot of the older folks, they don't ferment their tomatoes. They call that Yankee stuff, they always say. And they just squeeze the seeds out onto a paper towel. But what we're doing here is we're not separating out poor seeds. We're not dealing with any of the sanitation issues. When we ferment our tomato seeds, all of the good seeds, the healthy, viable, mature seed will sink, and immature, inadequate seed will float. So it's a really good way to separate out lesser quality seed. It also deals with seed-borne pathogens are going to be removed from your seed crop. There's a number of sanitation factors why it's beneficial. You don't have to do it, but it is highly recommended, and that sounds like a good example as to why.
Okay.
Yep. I got 2 minutes. Who else?
You buy seeds from a cheap Walmart.
Oh, no.
Let's just say, how long did seed a pack before you forget it? It's never been a
Ooh, that's a good question. So, you'll see the seed packs are always labeled packed for this date or whatever. And that's more of a federal regulation type of thing. It doesn't really speak to the shelf life of the seed, right? Some seeds will last for much longer than just that 1 year, but that's species specific, and it really comes down mostly to how they're being stored. So you would likely believe that a lot of these cheaper, big box places are storing them in warehouses, or that are not being climate controlled, or they're shipping them on trucks where it's too hot, and that's going to degrade the quality of the seed. So most of the time you want to be obsessed with the quality of your seed and only get the best stuff from the best growers. But if you find yourself with your hands full of cheap seeds, do a germ test. You know what I mean? Get 10, 100 seeds, depending, and put them in some wet paper towel, Ziploc bag, and put them on your fridge, and see the germination rates that you're going to get there. And if you're getting less than 50% germination rate, scrap that and start over. And we know where you'd want to start. All right, that's all the time I got. You guys can come hang out at the seed swap or come buy some books. I'll see ya.